Welcome, Kathy. So excited to have you with us today on Alignment. We're recording this, and I'm so excited to learn the quantum state as a lived reality from your perspective. So, welcome. Today
Lovely.
isn't just a conversation. It's an invitation to expand how we perceive reality and our place within it. So most of our lives are lived through a 3D lens. What we can see, what we can touch, what we can measure, what we can explain. It feels solid. It's predictable. It's
Yeah.
fixed. But what if that's truth? That's only the surface. Because before we begin, let's just share Kathy's work in quantumology. She also has a community on Skool. She also has a Facebook group. It didn't start as theory. It began through a series of downloads between 1997 and 2004. Direct insight, not formal study. What started as personal knowing became two websites, an active community on Facebook, a published book, and now a space on Skool to explore these ideas together. You don't need to know physics. You just need to be willing to question what you assume is fixed. Because underneath the 3D layer, there may be a very different architecture. Wave particle duality, superposition, many possibilities at once, entanglement, connection between distance and beyond distance, non locality, information not bound by space or time. So today isn't about having answers, it's about opening perception, letting something move, even if you can't explain it. Some of you may recognize what she's about to speak to, even if you've never had language to it before. Kathy, we're really glad you're here. So can you take us back to the beginning? What started this inquiry and what were those
Yeah.
early downloads like?
Well, yeah, I will clarify. This is the first time that I will have actually spoken directly to a living virtual audience about this stuff. So it's a bit of a outcoming. um, I essentially found myself in a situation where I was being told what to look up on my computer, woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and basically driven to sit down in front of my computer and look things up that I had never heard of. I didn't know anything about science. Okay, nothing. I got a biology A level. That's my sum total of previous experience in science. So the stuff that I was being told to look up were things like quarks and electrons and tachyons and just weird objects of quantum mechanical constructs that I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was being told to look this stuff up. And then slowly it started to dawn on me that the information related to the human condition and the understanding that I was being given the opportunity to get, which is where the kind of the learning process comes in, your own cognitive process fits into the bill, was the appreciation that the way quantum particles behaved mirrored in a lot of respects the way human beings behave. So we have the conscious capability to be able to align with quantum behavior and tap into and utilize all the myriad of opportunities that presents. But because we're so fixated on 3D and the three-dimensional existence, we just don't give ourselves the credit for being able to do that. So that in a nutshell is the bedrock of the where it all started for me.
That's fascinating. Exactly. So what has been your experience to explain this now that relates to everyday life through these past almost 30 years?
When I'm on track with it, it works. When I'm in a mind state that is open and receptive and understanding of the wave particle duality stuff, because that's a really important bedrock of one of the four pillars that we'll talk about in a little while. It's good, and you can almost feel like you're flowing into the future with a sense of pleasant anticipation.
Oh, I love
When you're
that.
when you're stuck in past future anxiety, there isn't any pleasure in there. It's just tense. It's like you're creating your own friction bubble, and
Yeah.
it's, I want to get out of this, and I want this to be better, and I want to escape this feeling, and blah blah blah. But when you're aligned with the principles and you can sort of flow with them, that's a freedom. There's a freedom in there. So
Yeah.
way you
Wow.
feel when you move forward is very much like, I am flowing through the day really nicely here. This is making sense to me. It's part of a bigger picture. I don't know what it's going to be, but it doesn't matter that I don't know what it's going to be, because it just feels right. And that's the huge difference between not being in alignment with quantum mechanics and being in alignment with it on a basic level of understanding. You don't need rocket science here. You just need a basic level of understanding of what it's all about.
I actually have not thought of it like that. So when you're in alignment with the quantum, you're actually able then to flow more freely, because now you're not resisting it. Basically, you're not working against it. You're more in connection with it. So explain that a little bit. So from your own personal perspective, so what is that misunderstanding about the duality, the
Okay.
superposition and entanglement? Because I think that would be a very good start to show how there's this misunderstanding. Like you just said, you're explaining it from more of a, if you have that understanding of the flow, how powerful that can be.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with a misunderstanding. Let's
Yes,
start with the bit we get wrong, yeah? Because
yes.
you mentioned that word a few times, so let's pick you up on that misunderstanding, okay? We live in three-dimensional construct. So everything is solid. This is solid, yeah? Right. Okay, it's not solid. It's only solid at this moment in time. When I'm handling this, it's solid. All right. At all other moments of time, it's a waveform. It doesn't
Mm,
exist as a solid particle thing. It's a waveform. And the probability is that it's going to collapse into the particle format that I've put back on my desk. That's the probability. Yeah. But it
mm.
doesn't actually exist in solid state except at the present moment of time. That's a very, very crucial
Wow.
point to get. Yeah. So that's a common mistake that we all make, that everything is solid all the time. No, 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 no. the the other mistake we make is that time moves in a linear format. Time moves from the present to the future, and we leave the past behind. It's not like that at all. Time is like a torus. It's like if any of you are into like techie electronics, you'll know what a transformer looks like, a toroidal transformer, and or a ring. Let's have a ring donut as another analogy for this. So time is flowing in past and future waves constantly. They're called advanced and retarded waves in physics. So if you want to look up advanced and retarded time waves, you'll get physics speak, but it's very interesting. So what actually is happening is that time is flowing like this, yeah, and all those probabilities, possibilities, things that could potentially happen on the past and future lines are tumbling into the present the middle section, the present all the time. So what this essentially means is that if you change your perspective on something in the past, you're shifting your compass point to a different point in the future. You've got this huge ring donut to choose from, all these points that you could be aligning with.
Mm.
So your attitude to something that has happened or could happen shifts your compass, which is why the law of attraction works, which is
So it's
why
basically you're
you know,
going to the waveform of those particles wherever they were, past, present, or future, and then
yeah,
now you're creating it. So you're taking a thought from even the past that was stuck, I'll say stuck or solid, but now you're saying that that's when things change or shift because you've just shifted the particles within that. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah, your position, you're shifting your position. This is about superposition, which we'll come to in a second.
Okay.
So you're shifting your position in the matrix. It is very much like the Matrix if you've seen the movie.
Mm.
Anyone seen the movie? Yes?
I don't think I've
Yay!
seen.
Yay! Caleb's seen the movie. Great. It's very like that, because you can actually relate to the artificialness of what it is that we are perceiving all the time. So let's go to the pillars, the four pillars. You've got wave particle duality. Wave particle duality is what I've just explained, that this solid object is
Mhm.
only solid at the present moment in time only. The rest of the time it's a waveform. Okay, so
Got
that's the duality.
Can
The
you
double,
explain what waveform is, though? Because I know you've
yeah,
said that. So define waveform for us.
okay. The double slit experiment proves this wave particle duality. So a waveform is an energy form. You might already have heard that all matter is just made of energy. That energy is the construct on which everything is created and formed. So the waveform is the energy signature of the particle.
Okay.
So, but the particle has to collapse into being a particle. The Higgs boson has something to do with that. The Higgs boson is a scalar boson, which is why it was called the God particle, because it's kind of said that without the Higgs boson, nothing would actually exist.
Mhm.
so,
Okay.
there are lots of little scientific foibles stuff
Yeah.
in there, but
Got
essentially, wave particle duality is a real thing, and it means that particle reality is only now. Okay,
Okay.
so the the superposition element puts you in multiple states at any one given time. So you could be in the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 variables at any given time, but your choice determines which one you fall into. So
Okay.
it's almost like that's your collapsing of the wave packet. You determine where it is that you're going to be on that superposition scale of infinite possibilities.
So that's how you choose timelines. So all these things are happening. So when someone says that they're living in their timeline, is is it the one that causes the most of that waveform to coagulate, or how would you describe it? Like when a timeline becomes 3D or visible or tangible, what
Yeah,
happens at that point? Because there's so many possibilities, right? There's so many
yeah,
possibilities. So many are happening, but they don't create the reality. So what happens when it's created the reality? Yeah.
yeah. We get stuck in things because the universe has a tendency towards stability.
Mm.
Entropy is a stable force, so we will move into an entropic state naturally. Our bodies will decay. We are constantly decaying on the entropic line.
Mm.
But the thing about this kind of stuckness is that it is an illusion the brain gives us in order to be safe. The brain wants safety. Doesn't want It's not interested in anything else. The brain just wants us to be safe. It's a survival mechanism. So anything that's different, that steps outside the box, or
Mm.
that does something out of the ordinary, is to the brain in a subconscious sense potentially dangerous. So, oh, you don't want to go there. God, you don't want to move to that house. Yeah, it's a construct that constrains us. So in order to be able to free ourselves from that, we need to simply accept that the brain is part of the 3D format, and it
Oh.
works in 3D, but our freedoms are potentially infinite. That's really basically what it means. The description,
What you just say? What's infinite?
the freedom of potential is
Okay.
is
Okay.
is, is infinite. There are no limits, and people say this all the time. But I can't undo my limits. I can't easily take off my bushel and say, "Hey, I'm a limitless being," and be all guru like, because I live an ordinary life, and so life is life. It's not always easy.
So that's an interesting question, though. So the brain. This is actually something that I never thought of. So the brain is part of the 3D. So
Mm,
if you are seeing it as simply a physical manifestation, then in order to really live in the quantum, you have to see the brain differently.
yes, you have to enable the brain to
Interesting.
to to respond differently, and I think that's why I had this experience in the first place. I'm not alone. There are a lot of people around the world who have had similar quantum mechanical downloads, um,
Interesting.
and they have been documented. I'm not on a document, as I say. This is the first time I've actually publicly spoken about it, but there are a lot of documented cases out there of people having these downloads, to do with quantum mechanics, and I'm guessing that it's because we are in a position where we have got to evolve
Mhm.
beyond this constraint that we've got ourselves stuck in, um, and be able to realize our potential.
So
In
when you had the downloads, do you think you were having an evolutionary experience? Was it for your evolutionary growth? I mean, as you look back on it now, is that what you're saying?
I think as I look back on it now, I was one of a number of people who just happened to be in the right situation, right place at the right time, thinking the right way,
Hmm.
to be receptive enough to this kind of stuff. Um, and I really, honestly, hand on heart, don't know why
Mm,
or even what.
mm.
I have no idea. Um, so I don't like to second guess it. I only know that it happened. It's just like
I see.
you know. So
So did it change
whatever
your
the reason
reality
is,
then?
I
So
knew
it,
I knew I had to get the information out there. That I wasn't given the information for my personal gain. I was given it because it was important and it needed to get out there.
but what I'm saying though, it changed your reality. Once you had that download, it changed your own reality too of what the perception of reality was, correct?
Yes, very much so. Um, because I understood that the construct of reality that I had taken for granted all this time wasn't real. There was
Mm.
an underpin. Um, we haven't touched on uncertainty. Uncertainty is one of the four pillars. Most people have heard of the uncertainty principle nowadays, um, and essentially it's a case of not being able to measure two things at once. If you can measure where something is, you don't know how fast it's traveling, and if you can measure how fast it's going, you don't know where it is. That's basically the template of it. But there's an awful lot more to it than that, because everything that exists is unique, and the science is only just beginning to join the dots with this one. There
Mm.
are a couple of things out there now, sort of putting two and two together with the uncertainty principle and uniqueness. So I'm kind of watching this space, but it's only just begun to emerge. So what will come of that, I don't know. Hopefully, they will be able to shed more light on the uniqueness principle and dovetail it in with the uncertainty principle.
So what is the uniqueness principle then?
Well, the uniqueness principle, as such, is simply that everything is unique. Snowflakes are unique. Grains of sand are unique. Blades of grass are unique. Everything, the moments that you live through, are all unique. There is no moment where everything is exactly the same. The position of the clouds will be different. The your own state of your physical being will be different every time you walk into a room. The air that you breathe are the different molecules. When you do the washing up, the water molecules aren't the same. The bubbles are not in the same place. The uniqueness is a fundamental universal construct that has to be there. And we don't know how deep it goes. We don't know whether all electrons are unique. We've got no way of being able to tell how far this principle dives, but it's a very, very important one.
Okay, very interesting. And what are the rest of the principles then?
Wave particle duality, superposition, uniqueness. What's the other one? There is another one.
Entanglement. Entanglement.
Entanglement. That's the one. Yes, entanglement is essentially the communication principle. So
Oh.
they've now proved that two particles at infinite, potentially infinite distance from each other, they've measured it over considerable distances. Two particles that are entangled will react to something instantaneously, with no time delay between them whatsoever.
Wow.
So if one of those particles is tweaked, or something is done to make it react, the other particle will react instantaneously, no time delay. So they were concerned that entanglement broke the speed of light limit, because how can information pass from one thing to another, and break the speed of light? That's not possible. So that's when they came up with non-locality, that something can exist in non-locality. It doesn't have to be local, i.e., next to me, in order to be influenced and affected by me. Taking that as an example.
So
So, yeah.
in your real life, then, when you say we're entangled, so how much really of what we're feeling is influenced by that entanglement principle? Like as human beings, how much do you think that it's an individual thing, or is it something else that is influencing us?
There will be influences that we have no idea are there,
Mm.
because our conscious mind can't compute all the time what's coming in on that kind of level. We've
Mm.
already established the brain isn't much good at quantum mechanics. It's fixed in 3D. So being able to compute what happens on an entanglement level, and the influences and the things that we're entangled with. I mean, we are obviously entangled with things, people, objects, animals. We'll forge connections and break connections all the time as we go through life, but we don't know necessarily how strong that entanglement might be. Whether there are examples of conjoined twins, for example, who will turn up to somewhere wearing the same clothes. That's just a superficial kind of, little nugget of information that's fact, and must relate somehow to an entanglement of sorts between those two. So it's a deep subject. Again, science isn't really very good at doing anything more than scratching the surface and keeping it all in equations, like these neat little boxes, and expanding it out into the applications of real life isn't something yet that the physics community is very good at. I think it's going to get better at it, because it needs masters the devil drives. But at the moment, it's still wanting to confine stuff, and I think that's got to change.
Yeah, and as you're speaking, and as we have developed as a species, and people are talking about the law of attraction or these types of things, it's separate, right? And so what I find the most fascinating now is how science is now attempting to explain things that the spiritual community has tried to explain. So the difference in this age, I believe, and this is what I feel, it's no longer easily to compartmentalize as it had been in the past because of technology and communication. Do you agree with that? Like, I feel like now having these conversations and just you bringing in the scientific part has helped me, even just in this moment, understand the brain in a way I hadn't understood it. Like that helps me understand quantum, like, wow, the brain is a physical thing. And so
Yeah,
when we're working on the brain balancing, I'm doing it from a quantum level, not just
yeah,
because I wanted to create it so it's neuroplastic, right? That's my intention, to expand the neural network with the brain, for example, in the work that I do.
yeah,
And when I hear what you're saying, so what I'm doing now is I'm extending it out into a field beyond the physical brain. And so when you say it like that, thank you. So if you could
yeah,
explain it from that perspective, I think it'd be really helpful to the
yeah.
community, since I do so much brain work.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let's bear in mind that we have an electromagnetic field. We have an EM field. It's something that, from a graphic description perspective, it might be good to find a diagram of it and share. But essentially,
Okay.
if you can visualize a human body in a kind of a I'm wanting to say a ring, but it's almost like a very big torus. You
Okay.
may have seen these diagrams or something
So
similar.
you're saying like a torus field. So
It's a toroidal field. Yeah, it's an
toroidal
electromagnetic field. We all have it, and its core is the heart. So the brain is almost like it's a conduit center. The brain, the core is the heart, which is why the heart also has neurons, and the heart is a perfect spherical helix of muscle. It's one continuous helical muscle, the heart. They've only just discovered this in 2018, I think it was.
Wow.
So it's not a series of compartments. It's one continuous spiral muscle. And that's the center of our EM field. So if you think about the work that you're doing with the brain and your expansion of the plasticity of the brain, you're working essentially with its energy field in ways that will resonate with people. So someone who's listening to your work or working with you will feel that resonance because their brain is identifying the subliminal messages that you are giving it by conducting your information. The information that you are providing will be picked up by the other person's brain, and that brain will resonate with a harmonic. So the person goes, ah, yeah? We have aha moments because our brain is going, ah, resonance, bing! And so that's how we learn and start to spiritually advance, because we can then feel these connections lifting our energy frequency. The language that you use, frequency, resonance, energy, it's all linked to basic physics. And the brain is really good at that. The brain is great at translating basic physics. So give it a chance to put all this stuff into a containment field that it understands, and you'll get loads of aha moments. Which is, I think, basically what your work is doing, and possibly, you know, that both the people here are also on that same kind of track with that.
Explain that though, that you just brought up a really powerful point. So the brain translates basic physics. So define that. That's really, I had never heard that before. So the brain translates basic physics, and it's still 3D, but now it's translating it. So it's really a translator of frequency. Is that a correct statement?
It's a little like, it's better described as a transformer. A transformer will take in huge amounts of energy in the form of electricity in the case of a transformer. We're talking about information, so exchange electricity for information. We're taking in vast amounts of information, and what our brain will do is it will use its transforming capabilities to hone down the pieces that are most useful, and to be able to consciously draw out the thread at the right current, at the right frequency for it to be able to compute. That's essentially what it's doing. That's why neurons fire in a certain way. It's also, on the downside, why we get drawn towards paths of least resistance and stay in habits that we get stuck with. Because our neurons are going, no, this is the pathway we've always taken. We're going to take this one now.
What you said was really powerful, though. You said something that really helps me understand, because with the work that I do too is drawing out the frequency, because I do a lot of things just separately. So you're saying drawing out the frequency of it. So you're saying you can consciously, so it's like training the brain to draw out the frequency that will actually shift it into the reality that we now are selecting. So you have to
the choice factor.
Yeah, that's amazing. So explain that a little bit further so we can understand that from.
Well, there's the choice factor. It starts to get really simple now.
Okay.
Because your brain is now open to these possibilities and going, oh, wave particle duality means that the only real reality is now. Okay, that's interesting.
Wow.
And there's superposition. So, oh, look, there's all these options. Ah, I didn't think about that before, says the brain, that there are all these options. So it starts to explore them more. Yeah. And so it goes into that sort of pattern of being able to explore things comfortably and think they're safe. It's almost like being able to touch the cooker and find out it's not hot after all. It's not going to burn my finger. It's okay. I can touch this cooker. I can eat this nice food. It's not going to hurt me. So the brain associates physics with safety. It will align with these concepts because they are academia has done us big favors in making these concepts acceptable. So our brains can't argue. Our brains have to go, oh, all right then, and go down that track of logic and less resistance than if you are in a position where it's all rubbish or it's all woo. Oh, this is all load of bunkum, and just dismiss it. You're missing out. Missing out big time.
let's go there. So there's some brains, would you say, that are so trained to entrainment of like societal programming, but then people like you or people like in our community have chosen to entrain towards this idea of, so once we are allowing this brain now to be open to the possibility, what would you say makes the biggest shift for people? I know that might be hard to answer, but that would allow such an opening to even be aware of that.
Ooh, that's an interesting
Yeah.
question. Well, there are lots of potential answers to that. Some people would say that this lifetime is just one of many, many, many lifetimes in which we are learning processes and getting to grips with fundamental information reality shifts as we go through. And to my mind, in linking it with quantum terms, every lifetime is an oscillation. An oscillation is a change from one thing to another. So your energy signature doesn't die at all. Your energy signature just oscillates into another shape or form. Neutrinos do this and quarks do this. So we know that two fundamental particles do this themselves. Neutrinos and quarks, they oscillate. So we are just bigger factories, if you like, of oscillation potential. So that's one train of thought, that we carry this propensity through our lifetimes. We get driven towards certain things, and that is beyond choice. We're wherever that choice was made was way back somewhere else. And then there is the other line of thought that believes that you can just and I don't disagree with this either, that you can just fall into a situation where you are literally in the right place at the right time and the lights go on. Oh, wow, I didn't realize that. That's amazing. And your brain goes, oh my goodness, what's that? It's like seeing a fairground suddenly appear in front of it and wanting to go desperately on the dodgems and the roller coasters and everything. So there are those two ways of looking at answering your question, and there are probably others to explore as well. But there are so many possibles because everybody is unique. So you can never take away the uniqueness out of the equation.
Yeah, when you explained it though, like when all of a sudden something happens that you're like, wow, like all of the things came together and you couldn't, like even how I went to your group on Skool, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know exactly where I saw it, but it like popped. It was like, oh, popped. And it makes me also realize that we can't force things, like it's like it shows up in the timing that it's meant to show up. So for example, it all happens like how I moved to Hawaii or how I even found school. So there's certain things in life that you're like, you put them into place, but you can't force. So
Yeah.
is that how do you explain that in terms of the quantum understanding of like
I think you're just absolutely dead right, Anne-Marie. You've hit the nail on the
what?
head. You are absolutely dead right, and you've hit the nail on the head. That is exactly it. It's not ours to the future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. My mum used to sing that all the time. Yeah, she
Oh,
loved that
interesting.
song. Yeah, and it's not. You can't force this universe to deliver its stuff. All you
Mm,
can do is make sure that your intentions and your desires are aligned with something that is right. I
mm,
think that's the karmic principle of it. If you can align with what feels right, and that alignment is of service in some way to a higher purpose or a greater good, you're fine. And all the hard-nosed business people say this. You have
mm,
to be of service first before you can bring in the money. Yeah. So,
mm,
so they know that. And there's no secret that you have to align yourself with service. And it's very, very difficult for a lot of people to kind of get into that, because they will, what is my value? What do I bring to the table? Who am I to be of service to anybody? But ultimately, if we can retrain ourselves to find those fundamental bits of service, even within our own families, and the things we do for our animals, and just the little snippets of the way we live that serve, then we're on the right track, and we
well,
can we can adopt a healthy mindset as a result of that, because it's
yeah,
not about deserving. It's not deserve.
right.
Deserve is the wrong word.
And Kathy, what reminds me of my teacher in India, he actually saved me from wanting to find a purpose. So for many years in my life, I was like, I got to find a purpose. I have to find a purpose. I used to cry myself to sleep because I thought there was one big purpose, like it was a big ball that would come down. But how he reframed it for me that has saved my life was, we no longer have a purpose. We live purposefully.
Yes.
So when we live purposefully, then we're in alignment with that energetic field that we have now created around us. And so the purposefully has shifted, has reframed my identity, has reframed it. So from the quantum perspective, purposefully to me means be of service,
Yes.
because now you're in alignment with your truest nature of feeling purposeful, not purpose. And so I think the purpose thing has been misframed by society, like you need to do something, for your work, instead of feeling like you're aligned with who you are becoming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. But imagine if we all were on that kind of mind track of purposefulness, how advanced we would become, and how
Yeah.
many awful, awful habits of humanity we would drop instantly.
That's a good way to put it. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it. So basically, if we were living purposefully, each of us would be more aligned with who our spirit is, and we would be a much more aligned global world, is
Yeah,
what
because we
you're
will
saying.
be able to uptake the information that the universe wants to deliver in the ways that are purposeful, that actually provide benefit to
Mm,
us and to advance who we are.
wow.
It makes no sense, a lot of the things that humanity is doing, and we know that. We don't need to list them here. We haven't got time. But the bringing sense and logic into the equation would be a turning point for humanity, if we were
Wow.
able to have that kind of purposeful
Wow.
approach to the way we live as a collective.
Wow. Wow. So if we do nothing else as a group of four, it's to really take that message, and not only for our own lives, but the people who are in our lives. And so, that is part of the mission of alignment of my community, because it's once we're clear, then the other things fall away, because we're no longer putting our attention on those things that are not the most aligned with with our truest nature, right?
Absolutely.
And I've also noticed as I've evolved, I'm less inclined to identify it as a thing, like I said, a purpose. So I've been very clear, even with the community, that the most important piece is to get aligned so that you can clearly think. And with the clarity, then you're making those decisions, but not with some end result. Like I really feel like that is
Oh yeah.
my new message.
Oh yeah. Total mistake. I make it all the time. Where's
Yeah.
the end result? When am I going to get this? I need this now. I need it to happen now, like yesterday. Yeah, I'm so guilty of this. But it's definitely the wrong way to be, because you're fighting against your own alignment when you think and feel that way. It's just frustrating and annoying, and it can end up in meltdowns. So don't go
Wow.
there. Don't
Wow.
don't do as I do. Do as I say.
So let's ask Zita and Caleb if they have any questions, because I have found this conversation with you so profound, so many things that I would love to even discuss more about, that is just mind blowing, because it's putting things into perspective from, where I've come from, my spiritual perspective, and also using the brain. So I find, and also because I'm interested in the neuroscience. So you have actually helped me understand the brain in a way that I had never understood it before. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
really, I had never understood it from that way, as a 3D construct, because I am very familiar with the non-locality, but understanding that the brain is a construct, that now that I have to turn into a frequency transformer, has just shifted the way I'm going to actually even teach my classes.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because I have felt like I have done a lot of the preparatory work, but then I do not have the collaborative work with people who, like yourself and like other community members. And I feel like the value of this is that we have conversations that allow us to synthesize information in a way we could never do so, by ourselves. And that is the purpose of the community, that we're all now
Okay.
able to see how the other pieces are coming together, what have always been in our own minds or what we thought solely, but now we can do it as putting pieces together. Like you said, science and spirituality. Well, when it comes together, the pieces are now making sense. We're putting pieces of the puzzle together in a way we could never ever do individually.
Absolutely. I'd love to know what pieces of the puzzle the guys who are here today with
Yes,
us would like to
me
put
too.
in.
Okay, yeah, I have two questions that might sprout other questions. But so you say the brain is a 3D construct, okay? Which really intrigued me, as Anne is saying, and you really kind of changed my perspective on that too. Because one of the main books that I've read was by I mentioned it to Anne in the comments at one point, called "The Mind and the Brain," the neuroplasticity in the adult brain by Jeffrey Smith and I forget co-writer. However, in this book, he did research on OCD patients and was able to show that just with what he calls attention to your intention, that you cannot change your brain until you have a true desire and intent to want to change. And so when you said the aspect of the brain being a 3D construct, and so having that because he goes into a quantum level in his book, and that's why they republished it in 2017 or 18, I believe it was. And it was intriguing at that time in what you said, because it lets me see that we're not stuck in whatever it is it may be. So with that being said, what is the biggest takeaway on the concept of the brain being a 3D construct that we
Okay.
could simply put forward in a daily practice?
The biggest takeaway is your flexibility on the one hand, and your ability to become a laser beam on the other. Something that I really recommend you look up is microtubules.
Microtubules?
Microtubules, yeah, they are cells that are most prevalent in the brain, and they carry coherent water inside them. Now, if you think of light being coherent and decoherent. Yeah, decoherent water is like the light that comes out of a light bulb. It's everywhere. The molecules are just in disarray. A light bulb will light up a room, but it won't do much else. Yeah.
Okay.
Coherent water is like the equivalent of laser light. Laser light is coherent light where all the molecules are lined up precisely, and a laser beam can cut through steel. There's your difference.
Okay.
So if you can work with your brain to consciously align those microtubules and produce the effects in your brain that you want, then you're going to be lifting your whole resonance frequency, energy level, intention, the power of that intention to such a level that you will yourself be amazed.
Okay. So this leads me into the next question then, because you say we have to kind of construct this laser beam of what it is we're trying to do, but on the other hand, you also said that we can't force the input. So with that being said, is it that we just have to find the niche, or are we trying to create some kind of force towards it?
That's a really, really interesting question, and it brings straight to mind the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, because there are a lot of names in that list. Yeah, Einstein's there on the edge. There's Schrodinger,
yes,
Planck. Yeah, yeah. A book that I thoroughly recommend is called Quantum by Manjit Kumar, and that tells you the story of the founding fathers. But the point that I'm making here that resonates with what you've just asked me is that they worked with dreams. They had dreams, they had visions, they had sudden moments of intuitive spark happen in the bath. They had the information come to them, and their intention was to find the information. So it's almost like you're building a bridge. You're creating the intention for what it is that you want to see manifest, and then the universe is in a position to say, you're building that bridge, are you? Okay, well, here's the other side of this bridge then. Yeah, that's where the consciousness and the collaboration and the whole, like, getting into alignment with each other and ourselves and the universe as a whole comes in. So that's a brilliant question. Thank you very much.
And Caleb, I want to affirm that, because so I met Caleb through the it's AI Advanced. What is it called again? Advanced
AI Advantage community.
AI Advantage community with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and that's how I met Caleb. But what was interesting is Caleb and I and a few others are talking about AI from really the quantum, about using the brain as an intention. And what Caleb has brought up that has really shifted my way too is that he's saying we are bringing the spiritual with the quantum with AI now. And so I feel very much, because of the intentionality of Caleb, myself, where we're bringing the information to us now. Like you said, it's coming to us. We're not seeking it. It's coming to us. And even these conversations, I did not force this. It just flowed. And so for me, I think this is the definition of it. I feel like this is exactly the power, Caleb, of how we can use AI. The information will come to us. And that's why when I take snippets of notes, it's extracting. And then I'll ask, for example, today I'm going to ask it, and I'll write an article about, what was the word you used? It's called brain. What was it called? The principle in the brain. What was it called?
Oh, the book is the brain.
Yeah, no, what she called the microtubules. So I'm going to do a whole study now of microtubules, because I feel like that's something that will bring so much power to the conversation when I do the brain work. So you just brought to my awareness microtubules. I had never heard about that.
Neither have I. I'd never heard that either.
Can we hear from the lovely lady who's
so this is it. So Zita's been doing a lot of the work. So Zita, what is your perspective, especially from what we've been doing? Because she's been working with me for a couple months now.
Hi, very nice to meet you, Katie. I already met you, Caleb, and great to be here with all of you. I have a thread of thoughts that came to my mind, not really question, just a thread of thoughts. A general idea and a general thought is that our body is the temple of our soul. What if we shift this perspective and it's actually our soul which is the temple of our body?
This is
Because
an interesting one.
this way, in my mind, what went through is that in this 3D way of life, our physical body, in which our physical brain functions as a transformer, as you said, Katie, transforming the frequencies, is actually a part of our eternal spiritual soul being. And from this point on, every question and everything we do, this is where the heart and brain coherence is so important, because that's what brings everything together. I don't know if I could put my thoughts in words properly to make you understand what I feel.
I think it's sort of connected with something that I've recently come across, fairly recently anyway, within the last year, definitely. That the body is we get it the wrong way round. We think that the soul is within the body, when in fact the body is actually within the soul. So
Yes.
the body is the kernel, the nucleus, if you like, and the soul is the, if we want to take it into the atom construct, the soul would be the electrons that are going zipping around all the up and down frequencies, energy levels all the time. So I kind of clicked with that when I first heard it. That okay, so the body is encased in the soul. It's not a vessel for the soul in which the soul is somewhere inside you.
Right. And what came to my mind regarding you, Anne-Marie, whatever you do with all that work with the brain, you are actually taming it.
You're doing what?
Taming the brain. Taming the 3D brain.
Oh, interesting.
Taming it.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Taming it.
Taming it. Yeah. Training it. Like
Training it.
to behave.
Yeah, like programming or training.
Yes.
Yeah. Educating
Yes.
your own brain out of the 3D dependence, I think.
Yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
Interesting. And training out of the, so it's entrainment out of, so can you explain also entrainment along those lines of what she just said?
Okay. What do you know about neuroplasticity? Because it's obviously part and parcel of what you're developing here. And we now know from a scientific point of view that neuroplasticity is not age dependent. It doesn't matter how old you are, your brain can still plasticize. However old you are, you can learn new stuff. And the trick is keeping it active. It's like anything else. You have to keep it going and use it or lose it sort of situation. So in terms of being able to adopt that principle, there's a whole kaleidoscope of stuff out there to learn and to gravitate towards and be able to bring into the training program for your own brain. I'm actually in the process at the moment of reading a book about training. This is a bit weird, but there is a lot. There is a lot to take on board, and I think that finding our own unique way of establishing that step-by-step development is very much down to us as individuals. We will find that way as long as we are prepared to seek it. It's our choices that make us who we are, said Albus Dumbledore. So, if we can seek the right kind of track in our own personal development construct, then we're going to be in a position to be able to train our brain accordingly and get the most of it. Doesn't mean to say that we're going to get perfection. You're never going to get a perfect state that you can maintain forever. And I don't care how many gurus out there say that they've cracked it and they've got it right, and it's like that for them all the time. It can't possibly be, because everything works in a waveform. So you're going to have ups and downs, you're going to have peaks and troughs. It's natural. You have to have that. So looking for perfection is probably setting yourself up for a disaster. Don't go there.
I'm going to go back to what Caleb said. Caleb said something what I think is why the brain work is so important. Attention to intention. So once you have the attention now to make the changes, to entrain the brain, as Zita said, that attention to intention in and of itself is what is training the brain to now be differently, neuroplasticity, change, shift, whatever you want to call it. Like it's kind of giving directions to the brain now, because now we're putting the attention to the intention. I'm choosing to see the brain differently. I'm choosing now to entrain the brain. So that attention, in and of itself, don't you think is sending a message to the brain that now, I want, my intention is to shift the neural networks. Oh, my intention is to, see this brain as a 3D that I'm training. Like, you know what I mean? Like now I have attention to that intention of the brain.
Yeah, and I think again, it's useful to be able to have that and adopt that kind of mental principle, but you don't have to fixate on it.
Right.
You don't have to run with it all the time. Your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are really, really good at talking to each other. And the quantum elements that we've described that underpin reality help with that process. They are there as nourishment, as assistance. They support this kind of way of thinking. And if we allow them to work with us, then they will work with us. But you don't have to consciously focus all the time. You just have to be able to catch the ball when things are going wrong. I think that's the best way of describing it. When you're emotionally crashing, that's the time to catch the ball and think, whoa, okay, do I really want to be in this situation? Do I want to be feeling this way? Or do I want to go and do something else and shift myself out of it? Yeah, they're the kinds of things that make this way of thinking, this alignment, this intention really, really useful.
Would it be accurate to say that it's all based on belief? If I believe it's going to happen, then it's going to happen, because it is reality, period.
Belief is pretty much everything when it comes to making things happen. Yeah, if you don't, I've just watched the World Championship of Snooker. Yeah, which takes place in the UK here, and they were on about belief right the way through the commentary. If you don't believe that you're going to be able to win, you ain't going to be able to win.
So it collapses the possibility of that, then, basically, on a waveform.
Yeah,
on a quantum level.
Yeah, your belief system is integral to where you are going to take yourself and who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the reason I brought that up is because when you started talking about the wavelength again, I was like, well, that makes sense, because if you're uncertain about something and you don't believe in it, then it's still in a wavelength. But as soon as you believe, it collapses and now it becomes a reality. Whether that reality is manifested in the physical form or just in the thought, it still becomes a reality.
Absolutely. And that's where you can change your perspective on the past. If you believed something about the past that was really negative and really bad and getting to you and eating away at you and causing grudges and stuff, you can shift your perspective on that and believe something else. Believe that in actual fact, it would be better to think about that thing this way, because that is a better way of thinking about it. Bingo, you believing differently, and so you're shifting your trajectory. And that's an absolute hub of capability to be able to steer the car. and turn twisted through this maze of life in a way that makes sense to you. Yeah.
That's fantastic, and it's just because I bring that up because of I don't know if you ever heard of Bruce Lipton. He's the leading biologist slash neuropsychologist on epigenetics, and
I
he wrote a
heard-
book called The Biology of Belief.
Epigenetics is a powerful one. Yeah.
So anyways, I just thank you very much, Kathy.
No, you're so welcome. Thank you for your elucidating questions. It's been amazing talking to you. You obviously are a font of knowledge in your own right, and I look forward to more of these so that we can share this kind of information between each other. It's lovely.
That'd be fantastic.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I'd love this conversation more often.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah.
And Kathy, at what point do we realize we're participating in it and no longer just learning about it? You know, like what point did you realize that you were part of that quantum conversation? You were no longer just learning about it.
I don't know the answer to that one. I think that probably for me, I only started to realize that I was part of it when it started to become apparent to me that there was a connection between what I was learning and the human condition. Before that point, I had no idea. It's like, what are quarks then, and why do electrons do that? And oh, they're negatively charged, are they? Oh, that's interesting. And I was just sort of cherry picking my way through the info and seeing what would make sense to me. But when I started to latch into the, okay, so electrons are negatively charged. They are all we have contact with in the physical world, and we have a predilection for negativity. Interesting. And then from there, things started to open up, and I started to put two and two together with oscillation, the changes that we make, the transformations that we use, the fact that we are unique and that every moment that we live through is unique unto itself. Those things, they give you a sense of living in the quantum world.
Yeah.
Went something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It was like a gong going ding. Time.
Well, Kathy, I so appreciate this conversation because it is taking the lived experience now from, you know, just it's like bringing the theory and lived experience, kind of like merging it, and it's so exciting to have this perspective from somebody who has lived it and learned it and then been able to synthesize it. That's the key. It's not just taking it and, you know, leaving it hanging. We're able to synthesize it into a way that it's understandable and relatable to everyday life. That to me is the potency of this work.
Absolutely wonderful for me to in return to be able to have this opportunity to touch your lives in this way by imparting this information and giving you an opportunity to have your own aha moments and go away and utilize it, because I firmly believe that's what it's for.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to leave us with that we did not touch upon, or something that really is, you know, what you're something that you're working on in your life right now that has impacted you in a way recently?
Well, I think really sort of Caleb really touched on it, because I think that the criticality of your belief system is everything. You must believe in you. You have to believe in your own authority, your right to love. Your self-love isn't about loving yourself in a mirror narcissistically. Self-love is about being able to be true to who you are and nurture that part of you that wants to become, to flourish, to blossom, to be. That's self-love. So taking that as a message to leave you with, I think is the very best thing that I could possibly do, because all the information that you gather from the quantum realm is going to help you to do just that.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. So thankful that you were able to be here today, that you were all here today. And I just feel very honored that we can have this quantum conversation that really brings it back to our everyday reality in a way.
Hugely useful for me too, because it brings it back into my everyday reality as well. Thank you very much.
And I
So,
think
yeah.
that's the power, right? That's the power of science and spirituality and the human evolution is it's not just to keep it on a piece of paper. It's not just to keep it in our heads, but it's how we can evolve with that
Yeah.
information, with that those concepts, right? They're not just, oh, particles, oh, just coherence. It's like, how does it relate to how we live our best selves, right? Isn't that the whole point of it? It's not just it's in a book or or in science like that, right?
Absolutely, it's to be lived, and that's why I wrote Quantumology, and that's why I've been on this track for so long, because it's to be lived. It's not to be kept under a bushel. It's to be fully appreciated and understood. It's not rocket science. It's very easy to understand, and you can utilize it in so many different ways in your life that there is absolutely no sense in not going there.
Yes, exactly. Wow. Wow, this was so potent. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for being here with me too. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Hey.
Bye.